for your support. These are the investments which we critically require to modernize our national economy. And we are ready to create the kind of institutions which will be conducive to such investments. And I will task the government to consider the idea of setting up a special investment fund where the government money will be added by private capital. Let's say for 1 ruble of government spending, we will be planning to raise 3 rubles of private investments, and the fund will be busy attracting into various projects strategic investors and in organizing co-funding of them, and their work will be organized upon an absolutely transparent and market kind of principles. I believe that this kind of an idea could be executed within a year. There is another theme, another decision, which has already taken place, and I have signed the respective act. The immigration rules have been simplified for the highly skilled labor that may come to Russia, and specifically for those who will be participating in major investment, scientific and highly technological projects. We also work upon improving the visa regulation, and hopefully that many guests of our today's forum in a very immediate future will be able to utilize these new opportunities in order to do business and to develop their career in Russia. Fourthly, we are very well aware that the modern economy is impossible to be developed and built by order from the top. No matter how many government companies we might have, modernization, first and foremost, will be done by private businesses. And only if there is competition in place. The role of the government is to create for the Russian and foreign businesses a favorable economic climate and a fair competition. Some time ago, our Nobel laureate in physics, academician Kapitsa, very liked to repeat one phrase. Very often they think that the one who plucked the apple from the tree did the main job, whereas, in fact, that was done by the person who planted an apple tree. The government must not always be plucking the apples from the tree of the economy by itself. There will be someone who will be able to do it better and more effectively, but what the government must do and what makes its duty is to help to grow our apple tree orchard and help develop the economy itself, the economic environment. That is exactly why I am reducing down the number of strategic companies fivefold. The number of strategic joint stock companies is going down from 208 down to 41. Amongst the federal state government unitary enterprises, from 230 down to 159. And that is the decree that I signed today. Fifth, we understand that international competition is a decisive factor for our modernization. Nothing serious can be grown in a greenhouse environment. Therefore, we want competition, and we welcome competition. Russia, since long ago, has been ready to access WTO and join the OECD. And similarly, the creation of the customs union between Russia, Belarus and Kazakhstan, further movement towards the single economic space, is our conscientious decision and choice to work inside a competitive environment. That is exactly why we're doing all of this. And these areas don't contradict each other, but rather add to each other. I mean our membership in WTO and our course at establishing the customs union and the single economic space with our immediate neighbors and partners. We know that competition can be very severe, but this only means that there is a lot for us which remains to do in order to improve the system of the government regulation, to incentivize competitiveness, not only for the Russian economy, but also for the Russian government, including the competitiveness of the Russian judiciary and legal system. An effective modernization is what we should also do about our foreign economic policy, because the successes of the Russian businesses in the global markets, as well as the real results we see from attracting technologies, investments and projects into the Russian economy, these are the main criteria in the investment processes and in such economic activities. Tomorrow in St. Petersburg, I will chair the Commission of Modernization session, and we will debate in detail how to coordinate our work with foreign counterparts in order to achieve maximum result. Dear participants of the forum, the vector and the trajectory for change, which is so necessary to achieve modernization of the Russian economy already has been set. The Modernization Commission, which I started chairing over a year ago, is working over priority areas: energy efficiency, space, nuclear, healthcare, information technology. These are the areas which are all very important to us. Sometime Albert Einstein said that everything must be done in such a simple way as only possible, but not simpler. And that is exactly the way we are planning to act. And dozens of specific projects are already being executed under these priority areas. One of such examples is an introduction of advanced information and communication technologies. We were one of the first ones to launch wireless commercial fourth-generation networks and continue developing this effort, expanding the coverage area as well as the speed of data transfer. We are setting ourselves a very ambitious task to increase the number of Internet users during very few years up to the highest possible number, maybe up to 90 people out of 100 living in this country. By 2015, Russia will completely finish a transfer to a digital television broadcasting format. By that time, 60% of the users in the country will have access to broadband internet. I also believe that the development of the national clearing and payment system, the development of the electronic information system, will pose as an important resource to expedite modernization of the society. Generally speaking, information technologies is one of the key areas for the development of democracy. The speed and the quality of feedback between the government and the society, technological expansion of the guarantees for the freedom of speech, internet technologies in the work of the political and electorate system are important to develop political systems, political institutions in this country. In a number of cases, we are changing our practices. For example, a decision was made about the possibility to apply in Russia the European Union technical standards. A certain amount of time was necessary to do that, but ultimately everybody agreed that it would be simpler to do it this way rather than boggle down into the development of our own standards, although we are going to work on it as well. We are creating small innovative companies under the universities, developing the system of the national R&D universities. As of next year, we'll fully eliminate the profit tax for the organizations which provide educational services and healthcare services. And I would also task the government to prepare a new program for the support of the education of the Russian students, Russian experts abroad in the leading research universities of the world. This program would help us strengthen our interaction with global science, with the world educational and innovation community. Of particular importance, we see the creation of the Russian Center for Innovations in Skolkovo. I submitted into the State Duma, into the Parliament, the draft law which sets a special legal regime for the center, where we would expect a unique system of for our country, a system for selecting, for commercialization, for implementation and subsequent support for commercial projects, and we will hope that the system will be successful. We will try it from different aspects, starting from legal and all the way up to the new principles of partnership between the science, government and businesses, and then we will start to replicate the system. Support for innovations certainly must not be limited simply to this Skolkovo Center. As of next year, we will be introducing substantial tax preferences for all the companies which operate in the innovative industries. However, in the fact that there is a National Innovation Center being created, we see a certain idea. We come from the rules that being able to execute an effective project, we develop a model for subsequent replication and dissemination. And by the way, I would like to separately extend my gratitude to those who have already agreed to work with us in Skolkovo and became members of the advisory board. We will have a separate meeting later on and we will discuss our plans. Dear colleagues, recently we have raised to a more active level our work to create in Russia an international financial center. Our interest is obvious. For the task of modernization, we need a very well-developed and competitive, globally, national financial systems. And a well-developed financial industry in this way will also serve as the means as well as a separate goal for modernization. Developing a financial center in Moscow is a good proposition to the rest of the world. And actually, my experience of interacting with the leaders of the major banks and the major financial institutions proves this. We see our role in being able, jointly with other leading economies of the world, to improve the architecture of the global financial system, to reform international financial organizations, to establish new standards of regulating the work of the financial markets. Because Moscow, also de facto, is a full-bodied financial and logistical center for the rest of Russia. More than 90% of all of the money flows and the prevalent share of cargo passes through Moscow before reaching out into the country's regions or beyond. And we find here certain advantages as well as drawbacks and some big problems, but with every year Moscow sees a greater concentrations of these flows from other countries, including the CIS countries. Therefore, an establishment of such a center is a logical phase in developing a very new, powerful regional financial market. Very soon we're going to discuss this issue with our partners in the Customs Union, in the Eurasian Economic Community. The development of the Moscow Financial Center, I hope, will allow us to strongly improve and strengthen the position of ruble as one possible current reserve currency. From the overall application of ruble in our settlements, we already working on certain specifics with our partners and counterparts. The financial system of Russia, generally speaking, is well developed in order to be able to undertake it. Specifically, despite the crisis, the size of its assets, considering the results of last year, was at about $1 trillion. In Moscow, the public financial sector is already well developed, where bonds and stocks of many hundreds of issues are being traded. The annual volumes of trade have since long ago have been measured in billions of dollars, but in terms of derivatives, Moscow already is in the top 10 global markets. In this way, our market is saturated and enough and mature enough for future growth. Legislative changes, they are very necessary here, because quite recently I chaired over a meeting dedicated to an establishment in Moscow of a financial center. And what kind of changes do we need? We need the kind that would develop comfort in performing various transactional activities and would create a more comfortable taxation. Before the end of the year, we are planning to pass the act about the regulation of consolidated financial reporting, about the regulation of activities of related parties, about central depository, and about the national settlement system. Right now, we are completing the formation of the International Advisory Council, which I hope will promote the development of the International Financial Center in Moscow. We invited to participate in the leaders of many banks and financial institutions of the world. Some of them are present here in this room. We will later on have an opportunity to talk to each other, as well as for the sake of the rest of the world. Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you very, very much for your thoughts.